Welcome, Allison. Episode number 34.
34. It's a good number.
34. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm very excited because we have a great conversation with a very, very important person.
Yes, we are going to be talking with Mr. Koon, the mayor of Chapin, and getting all the dirt.
And he actually came here to our office. So he's technically our first, no, literally, not technically. He's literally our first guest.
In the studio.
So let's see how that works.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, and we're here with Mr. Koon, the current mayor of the beautiful town of Chapin, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. I like opportunities to get out and speak to groups and to let people know what we're really doing with the town and why we're doing what we're doing. There's so much... I get so much input from social media.
Oh, yeah, right now.
Folks that really don't know what they're talking about, to put it bluntly. And sometimes that's a little bit distracting. So it's like if we have a council meeting, somebody told me, I guess you're happy if you have a council meeting and not many people show up. And it's like, well, no.
Well, Mr.
I want the room to be full of people, and so
let's start a little bit by introducing you and introducing, before we go into council meetings, conversation.
And why I'm here.
Yes, sir.
And we're excited you're here. This is our first guest on episode 34 now of our podcast. So we've had someone come in to our new studio. So thank you for coming in.
Well, I'm a lifelong Chapin resident, born and raised, went to high school right over here. Got my driver's license down at the old little town hall on old Lexington that was just renovated, and we had a ribbon cutting for that last week. So we're excited about that. But so grew up here. Where I grew up is where Laura Huggins' law office is.
That was your old house?
That was where I grew up. Yep.
Nice. Right, that's right there in
Right
Columbia
on Columbia
Avenue.
Avenue.
Yeah, right by Catch 22. Right there. So.
How was growing up back in Chapin? What year are we talking about? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, it's interesting you say that because last year I got a teacher from Piney Woods Elementary that called me out, and she said, Al, we're looking for an older person to come out and talk to. I think it was the 4th grade, about how Chapin was back, in the day.
Yeah.
And I said, what you're really doing is you're asking me to come talk to the students. And so I did, but I was able to go back and get the yearbook when I was in the 1st grade.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Me and my 34 classmates.
All right, you got to tell us what year are we talking about?
That would have been, let's see, I graduated from high school in 1969, so back up. We did have 12 years in school. 11. It was 11 for a long time.
And what was that, 57?
57.
So,
1957.
And when we graduated in 1969, I think there were 45 in our class, and that was the largest class that Chapin High School had ever graduated.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So you can see how things have changed. But it was interesting talking to those kids because I said, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have PlayStations.
You didn't have a podcast studio?
Didn't have a studio. I said we didn't have grocery stores, and they went, "Well, how did you eat?" Well, we managed. We managed.
How do you eat? That's beautiful.
Back then, everybody had a garden and such as that. But it was really interesting talking to them. I think I can barely remember when Columbia Avenue was actually a dirt road, and I've been trying to find out exactly when it was paved.
I can't imagine Columbia. Well, kind of like a dirt road right now with all the construction going on, but it's
Mayor Stan Shealy sent me a picture a while back, and he also grew up right there on Columbia Avenue, a little bit further down, but it was a picture taken in his front yard. I think it was his aunt, but the background showed the road. And he said it was like 1957, and the road was a dirt road.
Wow.
So, but we played ball out in the road, on Sundays, and probably never had to stop for a car coming.
So when would you say that it was a shift between small, very rural town into something like
Yeah,
today?
that's a really good question. You know, I tell people Chapin used to be a small town with small town issues, and now we're still a small town, but we have big town issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. I served 4 years on council from 2018 to 20 through 2018 through 21, and then became mayor after that. But it had certainly started before that, and so exactly when I was more of a casual observer back then than involved like I am now. But and you know, when you say it really changed, that's a relative term.
Yeah.
I remember when Hardee's came to Chapin, you know, everybody was.
Yeah. McDonald's,
You had made it.
McDonald's.
And now we've got, gosh, anybody and everybody that's wanting to come here and put something on. It seems like every piece of land here in town or down towards the interstate that's available. And
Well, that
and I'll tell you,
expansion.
we've told a lot of people no. We've told folks no.
How does that happen? What?
How does that happen?
Yeah.
The mayor said no. Well, the way it's happened is either because of the nature of some business that they wanted to put, or probably more importantly, where they wanted to put it. And I'll give you some examples. Is we're not allowing anything to go in I call it the uptown area, the town center, that has drive-throughs because of the traffic.
Correct.
It just adds to the traffic problems. So
are you talking about like Clark Street, Beaufort Street area?
Yeah, I'm talking about from Amex Ferry down to if you know where East Boundary is.
East Boundary, yes, sir.
And then from Columbia Avenue to really just past the Publix of Old Lexington, which I think that area actually needs to be bigger.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, drive-throughs, we're just not allowing drive-throughs. So if you got something, you know, a fast food restaurant or something like that, we would prefer that it be located down more appropriately towards the interstate.
Gotcha.
And I can talk about that a little bit too. But so I don't know. Yeah, Chapin, I can tell you we're having to do a lot of work with bringing our processes and procedures up to date at Town Hall. And, you know, one example is our ordinances were Chapin approved zoning and all of that back in the late 80s. And so most of the ordinances were written in that time frame. And a few problems. One is they've been amended so many times. I know during the 4-year period that Mayor Knight was mayor, we did 76 changes to ordinances.
Oh, wow.
And they're all mostly Band-Aids. So when you do a Band-Aid, you run the risk of, well, I changed it here, but I didn't change it over here.
Will it be possible to start from scratch?
That's what we're doing. We're
You say,
rewriting all
hey,
our ordinances.
we're going to have an ordinance saying every single ordinance is blank, we start over.
Yeah, we had to bring in a consultant to help us with that, mainly because my staff over there is not large enough right now that I can take somebody and, you know, go work on this for 9 months.
How many people are we talking about?
We have about 30 employees over at Town Hall now, and we're about close to a $10 million budget.
$10 million budget a year
for
30 people and managing and wow, that's small.
Include, you know, when you look at budgets, it's kind of two budgets. One is the utility side of the house, the sewer water system, and then the other is the general operations, which are the police, planning and zoning people, financial people.
And that's a misconception that I've come across a lot of people around, that when the blur line between Lexington County and town of Chapin, it seems like there is this back and forth and people trying to understand who's responsible for what, who's not responsible
Carlos,
for.
you're nailing it. And I'll tell you that I grew up in Chapin, and I'll just speak about the county. I'll be very blunt about it. I'll probably regret this, but you know, my parents, you know, my whole life I've heard people complain about the services from the county or lack of services. And to give the county a little bit of credit, there's this thing called Lake Murray that was built that physically separates everything north of the lake that's in the county from the rest of the county, and it creates a lot of problems. There's folks out in your neighborhood that are all upset about EMS service or lack of it. Just this morning, I got an email, and it was about police service over here from the county, and I can go on with other things, but one thing is that people understanding that, and even in the town of Chapin, the town is only 2.1 square miles.
It is.
Our incorporated area. Yet we have about, I hear different numbers, 20 to 30,000 people that live in the 29036 zip code.
Yeah.
And most of them think they live in the town of Chapin. They come up there to vote, and they're told you can't vote. And so, we've had people get mad.
So what is the population of the town of Chapin?
It's about 2,000.
About 2,000.
Yeah.
So very small relative to the zip code.
Yes, and that is an issue with us. I think our town has got to grow.
So in an ideal world, and I know that this politics are complicated, and we all know that, but in an ideal world, what would be the best scenario for the town of Chapin to be there?
That's a really good question, and I tell you, my philosophy is what they call ground-up government. And basically what that's saying is where you live, you should be governed by people that are closest, that live where you live.
Correct.
And not in Lexington or in Columbia or in Washington or wherever it may be that's making decisions about what, our town, our area, but they don't live here.
And they don't know.
And that's the people that live here are the ones that need to be involved. We had an election last week for 2 council members. 2 incumbents, one of them filed for re-election, the other one didn't. And so that meant one position was going to be elected with write-in votes. Ooh. We had 40-something folks that voted total. We had the top 2 write-in votes were 21 votes and 14. And people don't realize how important it is who your elected officials are. I mean, you better have people that are in it for the right reasons, because they have time to do it, they're passionate about it, and I can go on and on. But when I say the right reasons, that's what I mean. They're not doing it, for any kind of notoriety, or I won't mention money because I'll tell you my salary single digit per hour. But that's not why you do this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just so important, and it's very disappointing when we have elections. And when I got elected, now I ran unopposed, but I think I had 40-something votes.
Yeah, that's very low, especially in a community of 2,000. What's the percentage of that? I don't even know. I don't even crack a 1%.
We have about 1,200 registered voters.
2% actually.
So
yeah.
I went to Clemson. I can't do higher math. So.
And that is local government is the strength of every country. You have strong local governments that abide by their rules and a centralized government. I mean, I'm originally from Venezuela, and I hate to bring this up because we promise that we're not, but socialism, that's what it is. It's just one central government that dictates what are you going to do with your life, how you're going to do it, how it's going to affect you. Yeah. And they've never even been close to you,
exactly.
And they don't understand your way. And the way you live is completely different of the person that lives, 2,000 miles away, but they're still controlled by the same thing. And
exactly.
and that's wrong.
I should have let you answer the question. I mean, I'm just a big proponent of that, and it's common sense.
Yeah.
Most of the comments I get, and I'll call it negative chatter on Facebook and Nextdoor and all that, aren't people that live in town.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. Is most of them don't even realize, as you said, that they don't live in town.
Wow.
When you say, "Well, I live in Chapin," you assume it's the town of Chapin, not the zip code of Chapin. So What does that look like as far as you said y'all do feel like you need to expand the town limits?
Absolutely.
What does it take to do that, and what does that look like?
It's one word called annexation.
Annexation, there you go.
And that's a really kind of controversial thing. But we have got to do it. Mm-hmm. The town has got to grow for a number of reasons, including if you live in the town, you can run for mayor, you can run for town council. You can vote, all of those things. And
what's the biggest roadblock on annexation?
Probably just there's some people that are vehemently against it. There's one landowner that lives out on Annex Ferry Road that's told me that they have put in the will for their land that the land will never leave the family and it'll never have public utilities.
Okay.
So you got those type people, and
but the house, and just illustrate me, how does that affect them? I mean, annexation, you just want to take people out of Lexington County, bring it into Chapin County.
Annexed property, it has to be contiguous to the town.
Okay. Okay. So
and there are a lot of folks out in Timberlake that if they tell me they'd love to be in the town, then we'd love to have them.
Yeah, of course.
Getting to Timberlake,
you have to go through
other properties.
It doesn't take but one property owner. Well, maybe that's exaggerated a little, but if you go straight down the road, it doesn't take but one property owner. Now you can go around properties, and you can even go across the road.
Yeah, and pardon my ignorance, but is that a law that cannot be waived for certain circumstances?
It's state law. There are about 3 different methods you can annex, and please don't ask me to explain those, but obviously the one that Chapin has always used would be if Carlos lives somewhere and he wants to be in the town and it's contiguous, he come and ask to be annexed into the town.
Yeah.
And my understanding of annexation, and again, I might be with you, just ignorance, is that
you just call me ignorant.
No,
Thank you, Allison.
You said it might be ignorance on your part asking that question, but mine is, and my understanding of annexation was you didn't have a choice. If the government decides that this property is now going to be in this location, you can't just say, nope, I don't want to be part of it.
Well, the government can't do that.
Okay.
Another way is, say if it's a subdivision, another method is called a 75% rule. It's 75%, and it's the landowners, not necessarily the people that live there. They would have to have a vote to be annexed, and if it was more than 75% of the folks that live there, then they would be annexed. And right there's another method, but it's never that a municipality can just say,
we want this property.
I want this property right over here in town, and it happens. And to be honest, as a town, I don't want to do that. So your question is really good, because the first part of our annexation will be an education process, where we'll try to explain, not try to convince anybody one way or the other, but explain to them what it really means. A lot of people just say, I don't want the town telling me what I can do with my land. Well, I've lived in Chapin for 72 years, and I've never tried to do anything wild and crazy with land,
but at the end of the day, you are going to be abide by the government. The difference is, it's going to be the town of Chapin or it's going to be Lexington County.
Very.
Correct?
Gosh, you are great. You are great.
you should run for office.
So that's a good point. So people, exactly, so again, do you want to be governed by somebody over in Lexington? Would you rather try to go over and talk to the county administrator about something, or would you rather come up to the town hall
and talk about something?
And talk to me or somebody up there about it?
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, and I will tell you, in the past, I think our town government has tried not to expand. They actually wanted to keep the incorporated town small so that it could be controlled better.
Does Lexington County want people to get annexed to Chapin, or they just don't care?
They are, boy, you're really hitting some hot spots here.
You had talking
Well,
points
let me
before
tell
we
you,
came
I
in
got
here.
a letter yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and say this from the Lexington County Administrator. And the letter said that if a municipality, Chapin, annexes property, it sets a subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
And the subdivision wasn't built to the county zoning standards,
Mm-hmm.
then they will no longer take care of the roads or take care of the stormwater. Right now, the county takes care of stormwater and it's like,
Oui.
really? I got this yesterday now, so this is hot off the press.
Oh, wow.
But I am extremely upset about that. And so there's an element to that answer your question that says they don't want us to expand.
They don't.
Now,
Cause
the
that,
letter doesn't
yeah.
say that, but you hear what I said?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how can the little town of Chapin take on the responsibility of roads and stormwater? I mean, we're a little town. We don't have, all this money for paving roads, which is extremely expensive, as y'all know.
Yeah, I don't see how's
So-
that even possible.
So read into what I just told you as you might, but I'm really upset about it.
So what's the next step?
I'm figuring that out. Just got this letter yesterday afternoon as I was about to get in the car to go have dinner, and
I mean, it's
You'll
gotta
have to
come. It's
update
gotta
us.
come to a point when you're like, well, taking care of the storm water is gonna cost X amount of money, and we just simply don't have it. Like, there gotta be a solution. You guys gotta work
and for
together.
annexation,
At the end of the
a lot
day,
of people, well, I don't want to pay, more taxes. Well, our town millage is about 16 mills, by the way, which is,
yeah.
I
Slow.
spend more going to a Clemson football game or than I spend a year.
Correct.
And then if you come in town, if you're on our sewer system, the rate's like about half.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, the water system in town is provided by the city of Columbia.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And the town's water systems are all outside of town. And
Does the town of Chapin collect some money out of those utilities that run through the town, or where's all the funding from Chapin town coming?
mostly from business licenses is our major form of
and taxes. But do you have any state
we
help?
have
Any?
franchise fees like Dominion, Mid Carolina Electric. I can't remember them all, but any AT&T, anybody like that does business in town pays a franchise fee. So there's various types of. Now I'm talking about other than water and sewer. Obviously, there it's people paying their
their
bills.
fees, their bills.
and selling sewer taps for new.
Yeah.
New construction.
But so as you can see, it's very challenging. About 2 years ago we passed a hospitality tax, and interestingly enough, the way we went about that was actually starting going to the businesses. Because right off the bat, people's reaction was, what?
More taxes.
More taxes.
Of course.
I've been attacked by people older than me in restaurants in Chapin about it. But so we did an education process, and most of the money we collected was to do upgrades to the Columbia Avenue widening project and the bridge. And an example you can see are the traffic light masked arms you see down at the interstate. The town purchased those.
Yeah.
The DOT only bills to a certain standard, and for traffic lights, it's hanging off of a cable. And those things, by the way, are expensive. You're looking about $250,000 for what you see down there just in masked arms right now. But the Columbia Avenue project, will be 4 lanes. It'll have landscape median. It'll have decorative lighting. It'll have sidewalks on both sides. It'll have a bike lane.
It's hard to picture all of that right now.
I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome one day. We'll have new signage, wayfinding signage, and that's the things that we're spending, that we are and will be spending the hospitality tax on.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So, but the thing was, our former mayor tried to pass a hospitality tax, and when he was asked what are you going to use the money for, and he said, well, we'll figure that out later. Well, that didn't succeed very well. So our approach was to try to explain to people how the money was going to be used. Now they have to trust us to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have a separate budget for the hospitality. It's not hidden hidden down in our overall budget. It's a separate budget.
Gotcha.
And, it's quite easy to go in there and see how much money we have and what we've spent. So, but in regard to the interstate and the Columbia Avenue, and then the new bypass that's going to go around I'll call it the southern side of town. Y'all will be up. I mean, it's going to come out right up here at the Catholic Church, which they started getting easements for.
Yeah.
If you've been around town, you see little stakes with a. It's not a ribbon, a flag.
Yeah, the survey flags.
And they're in the process now of getting easements and right-of-ways for that project. It's funded, it's designed, it's just got to be built.
Well, I believe that one of the biggest benefits of this road widening is going to be that project that has been sitting there for a little bit called the Brighton project, And I for those who don't know, that's a project that.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
I'm pretty blunt and straightforward as to what I think.
Go ahead.
People agree with me or not, but the Brighton Tech Park is not located in the town of Chapin.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very intentional thing back when the park was built, and the town agreed to it back then. I'm talking 10 years or more ago, and I think it's ridiculous. I think the town, with all the things we're doing with Columbia Avenue, the town needs to at least have a place at the table for what goes in that park.
And they don't?
No.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
No saying?
No say.
So is Chapin Commons, is that part of the town of Chapin? And then it stops right there at the Brighton Park land?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Way back at some point in time, I guess the town decided they wanted to annex down Columbia Avenue to the interstate. And they went down the right side of Columbia Avenue. So everything on the right side is in the town of Chapin. On the left side, it's kind of hit and miss. And, with the Chapin Commons, they're contiguous to the town. And they want it, the businesses like that want to be in the town. They want the police protection and so forth.
Where they're
So
going to have
it's
the
hit or
police?
miss going down the left side of the road is what I'm telling you. But the county's got about, last time I heard, it was about $18 million invested in that tech park. And it's beautiful. I don't know if y'all have been down
Yeah, I've driven through it, and it's
beautiful.
It's nice. That's my. Actually, that was the initial part of my comment. I can't wait to see that coming to fruition. It's gonna happen, right?
But again, from the town of Chapin, it's important to us what goes. First, it was a business park, technology park. I guess they call it a technology, not an industrial park, and it still isn't. They changed it to tech and business park. But we've had, a few years ago, there was, and I don't think there was a chance of this happening, but I'll just use it as an example, a concrete plant, company that was interested in going in there. And credit to the county, that never took, But I'm saying, man, with all the work we're doing on Columbia Avenue to make it like I described just now, we don't need concrete trucks
going through.
Yeah.
We don't need 18-wheelers coming up Columbia Avenue frequently and going in there. Way back, if you talk to the old Chapin people, like me, there was a company called Suffolk Chemical that located here in town. This was back in the 70s. They were located down on East Boundary, right across from where Generations is. And they were a terrible company. They had chemical releases down there. They wouldn't let the fire department come in the building and and see what they had, what kind of chemicals they had. And finally they were shut down and kind of kicked out of town. But the old people still, that's an example that they like to use.
So you will have, I mean, and when I say you, I don't mean Al Koon, I mean the town of Chapin, you have at least some saying on what happens in that park.
I had a conversation with 2 county council members, this has probably been a year ago about it, and it wasn't, I'll just tell you, it wasn't a very nice conversation.
Yeah.
I said, you're right here within rock's throw of a 5A high school. It's got 2,000 people down there on a daily basis. And
You gotta be careful what you put in there.
You can't just put, now, having said that, they hadn't put anything in there.
Are you aware if there's been any offers of people moving
The
there?
only one I know, there was a manufacturer that made diapers. Now again, this has been several years ago.
Yeah.
That's an industrial plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that never happened either, so it's not like, I don't think any of this was seriously.
Yeah. Because ideally you want to be a technological part, not an industrial, not a manufacturer,
Yeah,
correct?
well, that was the intent. And, if you ask the people from the county, they'll tell you it was based on the VC Summer new projects, so the new plants, which is where I work, by the way.
Yeah.
And somehow they had the idea that there would be spin-off companies like car places have, car manufacturers have spin-offs that make molding. And, well, in the nuclear industry, that's not.
Well, Allison is friend of Elon Musk. Maybe you can convince him.
So I think their lot, this is just me talking, was kind of flawed at the very beginning, but now they will tell you that the failure of that project is why Brighton has expanded, but it's way more than that. Part of it right now, they're waiting on the Columbia Avenue project to be done because there'll be turning lanes. There'll be a traffic light at that intersection, and there'll be turning lanes there for entrance into the park.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had heard that was a big roadblock, and again, there are rumors and all of that, but the turning lanes not being there.
I think that
but I've seen new signage, so I was wondering if something was coming.
The property on both sides of Brighton Park are owned by Mr. Mungo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, that was all part of the deal with the park.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think he sold some of the land for the park. I'm not sure about that. Was, for him to develop that with, and again, the idea was these would be tech jobs, it'd be
housing,
higher paying, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, that hadn't happened. But the signs you see down there, they're ready. They're getting ready. They want to move forward with their development on both sides. And we're working with them on that in terms of what it would be and what it would look like. Like on one side, it'll be what we call a planned development, which will include commercial with or retail with
residential,
and maybe even including things like independent living. Like I live down in Southwood, independent living now.
I gotta ask because I know a lot of people are thinking, how about multi-family, small,
that's a
high density properties?
Last year we had, a company come in and propose to build 300 apartments right over there. And good Lord, I got people wanting to come ride at my house. And you guys are out recruiting these people. Well, guess what? We don't have to recruit anything now.
They'll come knocking at your door.
Yeah. And to this day, I haven't met any of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But they got all mad. Now, here again, back a year or two ago, we put in our ordinance this planned development. And we did it, and that's what the apartment complex was going to be. It was going to include residential and retail.
Correct.
And we changed the process for our planned development in that not only did it have to make it through the planning commission, it had to go to those things have to go to council for approval. And it adds public meetings in there too. So part of what we were trying to do was for that type of development, make the process harder, more stringent. Contrary to that, if it's just somebody, if they didn't want a planned development, as long as they just met our zoning ordinances, it doesn't ever get to town council.
Yeah.
The planning commission approves it and they move on.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because the day that the planning commission was having a meeting to vote on their recommendation to the council, the company withdrew their application. And people have said to me, well, I guess you're really glad they did that. And I said, well, actually, I wish they had let the thing go through the process so people could see. And I can't sit here and tell you how our council is going to vote on that, but But if somebody makes application, you have to go through the process.
You do have, and that's where public involvement matters.
Yeah,
you can't just sit down and complain about something, and you get the opportunity to have a say, and you don't take that opportunity.
Correct.
So social media is not going to do a thing. You have to go to the
meetings.
meetings.
If I sound like social media, it wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah.
But, if you look at the service industries and things like that in a town, they're begging for employees.
Yeah.
And we just don't have enough people that live in the Chapin area for those type jobs.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, I worked at Chapin Red and White.
Mm-hmm.
Best job I ever had. Hayward Shealy was the best boss I ever had. But now high school kids, they're just not doing that. And then we don't have the housing market where people can live here, and it's not only service but school teachers. Kevin Singletary, who was our planning and zoning manager, lives in Edgefield, and he commuted here every day. He's late 20s, single. He couldn't afford to buy a house here, and so there's a big need that I think a lot of people don't understand, but I think what people don't want to see is a 300, a big complex.
Yeah, it'll be a matter of density, having.
Yeah, and it's certainly not any kind of government-assisted low-income housing.
Mm-hmm.
And every time something comes, people immediately, Well, this project was their one-bedroom was going to rent for $1,350 a month.
That's not low income.
Yeah, the two-bedroom was $1,550, a three-bedroom was $1,750. That's not low income.
No, it's not.
But I'll just give you my opinion. The location and the size of that wasn't a good start for.
Yeah, it would have been a. Well, hopefully, with all the expansion in Columbia Avenue and the expansion on this will help. I mean, because there's one thing for sure, right? You can't stop progress.
Well, you can. It's funny. People think you can,
Mm-hmm.
and they also think that if you want a popular thing is a Chick-fil-A,
Mm-hmm.
you just snap your fingers and somebody runs in here and builds it. Well, it's not quite that simple.
Yeah.
But let me back up a little bit. When I was on town council, we wrote a new comprehensive plan for the town, and the title of it is Envision Chapin, and the goal of it was what do we want our town to look like in 20 years. Now, 20 years may sound like a long time, but
where is that plan? Can we access to that plan?
Yeah, it's on the town website, and
See,
I would encourage people to look at it because that's our roadmap, and I'm really excited about it. It has the priorities of things that that people wanted the town to be involved in, and I'll tell you, as part of that, we did a survey.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Lexington County was doing a survey. We had almost as many responses to the Chapin survey that went to everybody it was available to everybody in the 29036
Mm-hmm.
as the county had for theirs countywide.
Mm-hmm.
And what that tells me is we have a community that cares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Our
we do.
community cares what's going on, and and that's a good thing.
Well, I would like to dig deep, and I apologize for not reading that plan before. I didn't know it was there.
It's okay. You're
I like to get involved, and I like to know what's going on around me.
I'll tell you, the town is required to write those plans and update them every 5 years. And in the past, what's happened is, we hired Central Midlands to write it for us.
But what I wanted to do is I want to go ahead and read it and have you over again to talk about nothing about but just that plan, because I think
that would be great.
Yeah. What do you think,
I'll
guys?
tell you, it talks about our values, and our values are commercially, we value small, unique, locally owned businesses.
Yeah.
A lot. That's the backbone of our town, are our businesses. And it's the ones that are locally owned that really give back to the town through sponsorships and things like that. It's not the big
corporate America. Yeah.
Keeping from naming a few, but But it is. We want our town to be very walkable.
Yeah.
With restaurant-wise, we want a variety of restaurants. The more, the better. And just recently, I was in Farm Boys one evening, and a lady came walking by, and she says, "We don't need any more restaurants in Chapin." And I said, "Well, first of all, you're in a restaurant." But, people talk about the Chop House. Well, that's not for everybody. Neither is McDonald's.
Neither is McDonald's.
Exactly.
And so the more choices we have, the better. So that's kind of a short vision, but that's what we're wanting our town to.
So in a quick summary and to close, because we're past.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I know, and me too. Trust me, I could go on and on and on for hours.
For sure.
But just to summarize before we close, you talk about more restaurants. Give me 3 more. What do you think Chapin needs? Or does it need anything else?
Outside of restaurants, just
Correct.
What are some needs? If someone wanted to bring a small business, like I know Carlos and I both have local people who would, I have one in particular that wants to start a business here. And they've asked me, Allison, what do you think Chapin needs? What could we start that would really help the community and also be profitable at the same time? If you're going to invest money, you want a return on that. So what are 3 things that you think would be great for the Chapin community?
Well, first of all, I mentioned we want unique businesses. And I'll tell you one that has been applied for now is a cigar bar. And I will tell you, there's been a lot of controversy about it.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm fine with it, but that's just my opinion. Some people just don't like anything that has to do with tobacco. Those things, but that's a unique business. That,
it is.
That if it's operated correctly, then I think it's a good thing. So any kind of business like that's, if it's locally owned, man, they've got my heart right there to the get-go. And interesting, you got to keep me on track, but the folks that have the Publix development down there.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to develop out parcels on the Lexington Highway. And what they proposed to the town so far have been national chains, and they're things with drive-throughs or gas pumps. And we've said no. And we've told them, well, we have some local folks like you're talking, might be some of the same you're talking about, I don't know, that are interested in putting a business, because they say, well, you're killing us, we're losing money. Well, the answer is that they won't do business with any local business.
And they're pricing out the locals too,
We want the national, I call them national, or I don't know, bigger chains. And it's like, man, you just miss checking that box that we're after. So even with Publix, which we're told this Publix is the highest Publix revenue in the state.
Really?
Wow.
I'm told.
Well, half of it is Allison buying them.
I have a lot of kids. They insist on eating 3 meals a day.
About the area that this thing services is huge.
Yeah. And that's interesting because that Publix is surrounded by Food Lion and Lowe's. So
they all are doing well. A lot, including me. I said, how can three different?
Oh, you know what we need, Mr. Al? A cheese dedicated shop.
A cheese shop, a gourmet cheese shop.
Yeah, gourmet chease and mozzarella maker.
You're hitting. Those are the kind of things I want to see. I'd love to. Laugh. I'd love to have a toy store.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'd love to have a shoe store.
Yeah.
So you said name it. I don't know. Those are just kinds of things that I would like to see.
Yeah, like FAO Schwartz,
Well, there's
there you go. Like Home Alone, the movie.
So that and of course the restaurants and but I can tell you everybody wants a Lizard's Thicket here.
Oh, you know what another thing we need? A pool, competition pool,
well, I was gonna
aquatics.
I was going to get to that too.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you
we don't have time, Mr. Al, but I want to hear that one. Go ahead.
The Williams family that owns Lizard's Thicket, actually their roots go back to Chapin. Their forefathers actually lived right on the corner of Peak Street and Columbia Avenue, and you'd think they'd have some
Yeah.
Allegiance isn't the right word, but no, they are flat not interested in.
That's the one thing that I've said since Farm Boys quit opening on Sunday. We don't have a meet and 3. You know, my mom used to call when she would get out of church. She would call Farm Boys and put in her order and go and pick it up on Sundays. And we don't have anything right here. I think that would be
a meet and 3 would probably lead the list of what people say they want. But you know, a Russia's not interested. Now there's a developer that owns 92 acres at the interstate, the property right behind the Zaxby's and the McDonald's, the Waffle House.
I'm sure he'll put a Home Depot in there. Was that
Carlos, I was loving you until you said that. But interestingly enough, we're trying to work with that developer. We told him we want you to come in and tell us how you want to develop that whole 92 acres. Don't come in here and say, I want to put a Arby's, and then 6 months later, I want to put a whatever. You know, we've been chasing a hotel for a long time, and we actually have a hotel company that wants to put a hotel here. So we've hooked them up with this developer.
Okay.
But we're trying to do as much as we can to manage what comes here. And where it goes.
Yeah. I think that so far you guys are doing a great job. I mean, it's obviously more complicated and people just see the tip of the iceberg, you know. And
give me 2 more minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned another one is recreation for our kids. We've got nothing here. And, you know, again, that's not something you can snap your fingers and it happens, but that's something that I would love to see if I could. I will tell you that 2 years ago, Nicole Burris and I went to the school board, and we made a proposal for, I call it the old school property over here. And the school district has decided that they don't have any use for that property anymore. It's not large enough to do anything with, and they just don't have any use for it. And if you go look at it, you can see they have no use for it. But what we offered to them was to allow the town to do a feasibility study as to what we could use that property for. And, you know, from my vision, it would be as they make it a town center. We don't have a town center. We have a railroad track and 2 roads. And also other things could locate there, like the library wants to expand.
Okay.
And they really don't have room over there to do it, or build a new library. The Chapin High School is one of 2 5A high schools in the state that doesn't have a performing arts center. And they don't say they can't afford it. So Chapin Theater is looking for, they bought property down below the interstate, but that's not their ultimate goal. That's more of an office and training and small things. So, you know, Crooked Creek Art League, which is one of the biggest art leagues in the state, and they are phenomenal. And you see the art stuff around town. That I'm a big fan of that. But they're looking for a home, and so we've hired a consultant to come in and look at the property, the location, the topography, the size, and all of that. And plus, they went out and interviewed stakeholders like these people I just named. And ultimately, they're going to come back with a proposal saying, well, you know, here's a bunch of opportunities. They may not tell us anything we don't already know, but, and you know, they'll end up with a drawing. I said, we got to have a drawing. I can't.
And those proposals will be just for the town of Chapin, or also will be open to private investments?
I think at some point there would have to be private investments involved to finance it.
I agree.
You know, and the model is the Ice House Amphitheater over in Lexington.
It's amazing.
I don't know if you guys have been over there. But we have. We've gone over and talked to those folks about it, and it's probably been a year or more. But when we were over there, they said that the amphitheater was self-supporting. It's gotten big enough that they make enough money on it to pay for it. And then you look at what you're talking about, the things that's popped up around it. And probably from a performing arts standpoint, that may be the first thing we would put over here, just because it's simpler than building a $20, $30, $40 million
Structure.
Right.
Yeah.
But the idea was the Ice House Arena was done in partnership with the town, the county, the school district, the recreation people, and maybe more, I don't know, but it was, and after they formed a special tax district for that area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a huge
hit.
And that study should be completed this year,
about
the
9
next
months,
year?
and they started about a month ago, so you're looking next August, September.
Next August, September. We're definitely going to be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I am too. I'm super excited. It's a game changer for our town.
Sounds like
Never
it.
done before.
Never done before. Labor Day, we would have a kind of a place, a gathering place.
We should throw a party. Like an unveiled
You're-
party
you're
of
all
all
about a
unveiled
party.
party of all the business that we can open in Chapin that will be approved and that will be actually good for the
But these
for
are
the
game
town.
changing, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm doing the mayor thing.
Yeah.
Is to, to really provide some leadership and vision as to where we're
How long
headed.
is your term, Al?
It's a 4-year term.
4-year
I'm
term.
2 years into
2
it.
years left. Okay, so
If I
I'm pretty
survive
sure that in those
4
2 years,
I don't know.
we'll have you here more
I
often.
wanted to come in and hit the road hard and try to get as much done as we can. And
Actually, maybe we can do this a monthly thing, and call it
I would
20
love
minutes.
to.
20 minutes with Al. 20 minutes with Al.
well, I tell you, I said it, but the more opportunities I get to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
what we've been sitting here talking about, the better.
yeah. I agree. And
I'll
this is
get some negative feedback from it, but that's okay.
Hey,
as
that's-
long as it's
that's part of your business, right? Yeah, being a mayor, you're not gonna please everybody.
Can't please everybody.
Yeah, I always say, you have you give some people a pouch of gold and they will complain about the pouch.
yeah, that is 100% correct. But I I can talk about I can talk for an hour about our sewer and water
Yeah.
systems.
Hey, let's
And
have a
what we're doing
conversation.
there. And, we just built a new sewer plant. Everybody just sits back and says, well, we're good there.
Yeah.
No, we're not good there. And you need to be planning now for like expanding that plant. It may be 10 years from now, maybe 20 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, I don't know. But you need to start planning right now, if nothing else, how you're going to finance it.
Yeah, otherwise it's gonna be way more expensive to solve
Well,
problems.
you
It's
end
the
up
same
and
thing
you
with a
gotta do
house.
it and you don't have the money.
Yeah.
And so we've actually contracted a financial planner, and people say they're going to help you invest your money that you don't have. No, it's not that. It's to help us with the finance. And, if we got to make some capital improvement with the sewer plant that costs $10 million,
Yeah.
how are we going to pay for that thing?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and work in that direction so you don't end up when you have to do something and you don't have the money.
Well, we face that every day. You have to hire a professional to save you money. That's at the end of the day. That's what we do. But Mr. Al, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
with us.
We really appreciate
and
it.
We'll definitely have
Yeah.
you over again, and I'm definitely looking forward to talk to you about those 20 minutes with Al monthly basis or something. That
I love it.
sounds.
I mean, y'all obviously ask good questions, and you kind of know the lay of the land and all of that, and so
Appreciate
thank both of you.
Thank you.
And yes, your building here is beautiful. So.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Bye.